When it comes to Superman's list of enemies, you've got the classics like General Zod, Darkseid, Doomsday, Brainiac, Bizarro, and Metallo. Yet few are as iconic as Lex Luthor. The bald head, the billions of dollars, the intense freakouts.
Superman will never...
Actually, Lex started out as a red-headed evil genius that's as generic as they come. But when DC decided to relegate all of those old-school Golden Age comics to a separate universe, he got a new incarnation. This version of Lex grew up in Smallville alongside Clark Kent, who at the time was going by Superboy. Lex was a scientific genius and actually worked with Superboy until a lab fire destroyed his research and his fabulous head of hair. Lex thought that Superboy destroyed his laboratory out of jealousy, and from that point on, he was Clark's arch nemesis. See, it wasn't until after the big DC reboot called Crisis on Infinite Earths that Lex was reimagined as an evil businessman, and it's this iteration that we all know and love. Lex Luthor was born in the slums of Metropolis to an abusive family. When he was 13 years old, Lex forged his father's signature and took out a life insurance policy on his parents. Then he tampered with their car and killed them for the insurance money. This was mildly retconned in Superman's Secret Origins, but instead of being from Metropolis, he was now raised in Smallville. Still, this kid was pure evil. In fact, one time, he stole 40 cakes when no one was looking. He took 40 cakes. That's as many as 4 10s. And that's terrible. Moving on, Lex wasn't old enough to live on his own, so he was assigned to a foster family, the Griggs, who ended up being worse than his biological family and were only interested in Lex's fortune. At the Griggs' house, Lex fell in love with another child they had taken in, Lena, whom the Griggs attempted to force into manipulating Lex into signing over his money to them. But when she refused, the Griggs pushed Lena down the stairs and killed her. This was a major turning point in Lex's life and only made him work harder to use his money to create and grow LexCorp into a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that more or less controlled the entire city of Metropolis. Enter Superman. In his original modern age origin, Lex tried to hire the Man of Steel as a bodyguard, but got rejected. In other tellings, he thinks that Superman makes humanity not try to solve their own problems. All that you really need to know is that Lex hates the Big Blue Boy Scout. That's what's important. As for why Lex is bald, there are many different explanations, such as a retelling of his Silver Age origin story. However, because of the constant reboots and rehashes of early Superman canon, the absolute latest version of Lex's hair loss is unknown. Lex's main method of attacking Superman is kryptonite. In fact, this is such a huge part of his character that Luthor even has a kryptonite ring that he wore so much that it gave him cancer. When amputating his hand wasn't enough, Luthor faked his death, cloned himself a younger body, put his brain inside of it, and started claiming that he was his own son, Lex Luthor Jr. Also, the clone body looked like this, spoke with an Australian accent, and seduced the Supergirl of that era. It's also around this time that he helped create Superboy by providing his DNA as a model to build upon. Yet this wouldn't be brought to light until over a decade later. The whole being his own son ruse came to a screeching halt when his clone body started to rapidly deteriorate. But it's okay because he sold his soul and hair to the demon Neron in exchange for youth and good health. When held accountable for his crimes, the newly restored Luthor brought in his original body and claimed that everything he was accused of was actually committed by an evil clone. And the judge somehow bought that, so now Lex is free once again. That doesn't stop Luthor from trying to kill Superman and being an evil douche though. No, not by a long shot. He even went so far as to destroy the Justice League Watchtower. Yet, despite his track record, Luthor still managed to become the President of the United States. Geez, this guy can blow up cities, literally create supervillains, sell his soul to a demon, and still get elected president? Why on earth anybody would elect an obviously evil businessman with outspoken hatred for aliens and awful hair is beyond me. President Luthor ended up working with the villain Darkseid, who crafted him a war suit with the sole purpose of destroying Superman. If that wasn't enough, Lex also injected himself with a chemical cocktail of liquid synthetic kryptonite and venom. Yeah, the same stuff that Bane doses himself with. Superman and Batman teamed up to take Luthor down, and even exposed his lies to the entire world, which ended up getting rid of his presidency and led us to the events of Infinite Crisis. It's here when Luthor was kidnapped and replaced by the son of an alternate universe version of himself, who tried to essentially turn the mainstream DC universe into a copy of his own dimension. Trust me, the story is a lot cooler than I just made it sound. Regardless, the day was saved, and the mainstream Lex claimed that all the crimes he committed were actually done by his now-deceased doppelganger, and even supplied the body for proof. Deja vu. Suddenly, the public loves Lex again, and he uses that to his advantage because LexCorp discovered how to activate the latent human metagene and was letting anybody become a superhero for the right price, of course. Naturally, Luthor really doesn't want everybody to have superpowers, so he shut them all off with the push of a button, leaving only Lex, who made himself as strong as Superman, until Steel deactivated his powers and kicked his ass. Despite all of this, Luthor managed to get off scot-free again, but was now penniless and disgraced. Naturally, the only course of action is to try to destroy all of Metropolis. Yup. See, it's this period of time that Lex went right on back to his old ways of committing over-the-top, one-note crimes, which can be pretty boring. He even helped form an Injustice gang that got defeated and banished to a prison planet that Lex broke out of. Then Final Crisis happened, where all these supervillains took over the world under the leadership of the mysterious Libra, who was working for Darkseid. But Luthor betrayed them all at the last second when he didn't want to bow down, and disappeared until Blackest Night. Luthor holed himself up in a secret lab and declares an every man for himself philosophy to the other supervillains. Because of his greed, he was deputized as an Orange Lantern, where he used his avarice as a weapon against the zombie Black Lantern invasion. Guess what? None of that matters because of the Flashpoint reboot. The New 52 Lex worked with the government to investigate and take down Superman, but his main influential story is Forever Evil, where he creates Bizarro and helps defeat an evil alternate universe Justice League that invaded Earth and took it over. Having decided that he liked the favor and attention that the public gave him for being a hero, Luthor joined the Justice League, and now he's obtained the power of a god and is the Lord of Apocalypse. As of this recording, that is all you need to know about Lex Luthor and more. But since he's a popular comic book character, this is going to be outdated the day it goes up. But for now, if you want to read more about Lex Luthor for yourself, I'd recommend the books 52, Luthor, and Forever Evil. But as always, now it's time for a vote. Which Superman baddie would you like me to talk about in the future? Brainiac or Doomsday? Click to cast your vote or tweet me at TrailerDrake. If you want some more Superman goodness though, then just click that annotation right there. See my video on the history of Batman's anti-Superman armor. It's pretty cool, and that's what the suit in Batman vs Superman is based on.